Mr Deputy Speaker. Stability, growth and public services. Those were the three objectives that the Chancellor set himself in preparing his statement, and overall, in the face of enormous global challenges, I think he can be proud of the way that his statement has been received by the markets and by the Office of Budget Responsibility, who, having considered it, estimated that inflation would fall by 30% next year. I understand the attraction on the opposition benches of attributing the current economic situation to the Conservative government. I said on the floor of the House last week, and I repeat, mistakes were made in the mini-budget, but the opposition front bench must get to grips with the fact that those mistakes were quickly corrected. Almost none of the measures that were controversial were ever implemented, and the opposition is going to have to say soon why it is this government that's the cause of the current crisis, when every expert from the Bank of England to the Office of Budget Responsibility to the market says otherwise. And I gently draw their attention to the fact that since the autumn statement was published, sterling has continued on its upward trajectory back to the rate that it was at in March. Gilt yields have fallen 15% from their peak after the mini-budget, and the Chancellor's decisive action has stabilised the mortgage market. You don't have to take my word for it. I invite you to consider the language used by the Governor of the Bank of England when he appeared before the Treasury Select Committee last week. He was asked by the chair of the committee, and Mr Deputy Speaker, I quote, "Just on this important question of mortgages, because it matters so much to our constituents, how much of the increase that you see in the mortgage market today comes from the Bank of England's independent decision to tighten monetary policy, and how much has been due to the disruption in the gilt markets from the event in late September?" His answer: "I think the September-October thing was obviously a short-lived thing. It's pretty much on the way to being gone. Yes, I think there was something that was something that ran from September through to the middle of October. So with respect, if the opposition is going to keep parroting the line that this is a crisis made in Downing Street, it is incumbent upon them to say why it is that the Governor of the Bank of England is incorrect. And I think it's also incumbent upon them to explain why, despite everything, it's still the Conservative Party that is ahead on British trust in ability to manage the economy. I just want to touch on three important points that came out of the autumn statement. The first is in relation to the cost of living. And I said last week I was pleased to see the triple lock protected and the uprating of benefits, costly though it's been, because we know that inflation has a disproportionate impact on those on the lowest incomes. I have to align myself with the comments made in the speech by my right honourable friend, the member for Epsom and Ewell. It's right that this is balanced by a review into the workforce, because since the pandemic began, we've seen an increase of 25% in the number of people who are out of work by reason of long-term sickness. And I think it is fair that this receives some serious scrutiny from the Department of Work and Pensions. I also welcome the increase in the national living wage to more than £10 an hour. I think actually the case for a minimum wage that has been in excess of £10 an hour has been quite strong for some time, but is now overwhelming. And I hope that when the Chancellor returns to the House in the spring, he will say something about childcare. It's an issue that I've been working on cross-party, particularly with colleagues on this side of the House, with think tanks, with campaign groups. Only last week I met with a couple of them, the Women's Budget Group, Pregnant Than Screwed. And I think one of the most important takeaways on this is that whatever cutbacks households are making to their discretionary spending, whether that's leisure or holidays or other luxuries, one cutback they're not making is to the cost of childcare. I diverge slightly from the opposition on this point, because actually I think some of the solutions are not monetary. I think that we're not exploring all the opportunities that could exist with childminders. I think they offer an affordable and flexible form of childcare. But I hope that the government is thinking about this seriously. I think that they are, and actually I'd rather they came back with a really comprehensive package than something piecemeal, but I hope that that will come soon. I also wanted to touch on the commitment to R&D that was made to the most dynamic sectors of our economy: science, technology, life sciences, green industries. All of them got a mention in the autumn statement. All of them thrive in West Berkshire, from Stryker Medical Technology to Edwards Life Science, Vodafone to Rock Technologies, Fuel Cell Systems to UNESCO. all of them the great innovators of West Berkshire who employ more than 5,000 people in my constituency alone. And I think that the decision to protect the £20 billion research and development budget is about more than just meeting a manifesto commitment. It speaks to our ambition for those sectors, our direction of travel as a nation, and our faith in the private sector to really drive growth. It also dovetails with the £800 million commitment that the government has already made to supporting new frontiers through the Advanced Research and Invention Agency, which remains one of the most exciting innovations since I arrived in Parliament. It does remain the case, though, that investment budgets are still stubbornly underused, and I hope the government will go further in this area, continue to expand the qualifying criteria of R&D for tax credit purposes, because I think there are real opportunities for our economy if we can do that.